Unforgettable, that's what you are. Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies, and welcome to an unforgettable vehicle. The truly unique AH-1G helicopter, the first helicopter in the American helicopter tech tree, sitting at an 8.0 battle rating with the lowest battle rating of any helicopter in the game, and by no means inferior performance. This, I believe, is the key to making helicopters fun in War Thunder. The AH-1G has been covered quite a bit on this channel, and I don't play much high tier at all. It's a camp fest. There's a lot of people just really trying to not get killed, and it's very difficult to just get into exciting and fast-paced gameplay because, well, you tend to get shot from across the map if you try and do things like that. Enter the AH-1G. So here I am, just getting a feel for helicopters again. They're one of those things in the game that are very, as you listen to the Tech Bebis, complex to use. And here, we're actually trying out the, what would you call this? The grenade launcher on the AH-1G. Another unique feature of this helicopter in the American tree is its dual rapid-fire grenade launcher that is very capable of punching through top armor of almost all enemy tanks you'll face. You see here, even with a cheeky penetration of the upper plate. Interesting. In any event, it's one of those things that you have to get a feel for, and so I'm just here getting a feel for it. It's a lot better to practice in test flight than it is to try and brush up on your skills in a live match where you have that turret-mounted anti-aircraft heavy machine gun contending with you as soon as you show up. You are being too cute, little toddler. As soon as you show up within sight of the enemy. And you see the armor on some of these high-tier tanks is even capable of eating a few Hydra rockets to the face, so you have to aim those carefully as well. And then another challenge when flying helicopters is to not crash into the ground. It really is one of those things where there's a reason there's a gunner and a pilot in these American attacker helicopters. And I would love to see, well, just a refinement of the mouse flight controls to sort of help with that. I know the hover function is there, but you don't have quite enough mobility. It'd be nice if you could override the hover function a little bit more, but I digress. Helicopters, one of those things that you can just put an incredible amount of learning into, and that learning does pay off. The downside, helicopters only exist at high tier, which to a certain extent makes sense, but could we have more 8.0, 7.7, 7.3 helicopters? The technology existed, the armaments could be appropriate, and I honestly think that helicopters are a hell of a lot more fun when they're not using guided weapons and when they're at a battle rating that is reflected by that. I would love to see the ability to get into 8.0 matches with many more helicopters. A lot of them that don't have access to that because they have access to guided munitions. And that's just a shame because, as I mentioned, this is by far the most fun way to play a helicopter. So that's the AH-1G, and we'll just sit here watching some more gameplay as I get a feel for the dang thing and talk a bit more about helicopters in general. Later on, I'll show you the Huey, with the XM30 gun pods, which are a ton of fun, but again, because that Huey also has access to 6 guided tow missiles, it puts it at a battle rating of 9.7, which is just far out of the league of the airframe of the Huey, and yet you're just not going to be in a situation where you can have fun with those XM30 gun pods. And that really is a shame, because those 30mm turrets with their heat firing 30mm ammunition are so much fun to use when you do get a chance to use them. I honestly think that anti-tank guided missiles are the main thing that makes helicopters not fun. Not fun to face, because a helicopter just sits at 6 kilometers away and snipes from extreme range. Not fun to play, because that is the meta, and if you don't do that at a 9.7, 10.0 battle rating, there's just no way for you to squeeze in to the combat against things like top tier AA. So it's really too bad. I honestly think that helicopters would be a lot more fun to play if you could play them at lower battle ratings, where you need to maneuver, you need to ambush the enemy, you need to quickly take down your opponent's ability to target you back, because you are not a tank, and almost every tank in the game has the ability to take you down in a head-to-head engagement. Helicopters really are the epitome of my favorite style of gameplay, which is more like War Thunder chess, being in the right position at the right time. The downside, that you make a lot of noise as a helicopter. The upside, you can appear from anywhere if you learn how to fly and how to position yourself. So let's take a look at the Huey as I continue to talk about helicopters. And one of the notable exceptions with the Huey that I haven't talked about yet is that the airframe that you see in front of you in War Thunder, even to this day, has a very, very wonky mouse flight. So I constantly have to babysit this helicopter to keep it from wobbling and jibing and listing as I attempt to fly, and that's an issue I don't have with the Cobra, or not the Cobra, the AH-1G. Is that a Cobra? Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm not very good at remembering helicopter designations. Apache? Maybe. Anyway, so the AH series of American helicopters has great mouse flight, and look at the just ridiculously slow responsiveness of the tail on the UH Huey, and that's something that I see constantly. And then also the wobbly roll side to side is part of just the eccentric flight model of the Huey, and it's one of those things that just hasn't been addressed, and that's too bad, because as I mentioned, there's really nothing quite so fun as using these XM30 gun turrets. They really are cool, but it's nearly impossible to get on target in any considerable amount of time. The airframe just has a really wonky flight model. Even so, you see that the amount of damage these things can dish out is so satisfying and so fun. I just really wish that the flight model would be worked on a little bit more. Specifically, the tail does not seem to respond with the yaw controls the way that other helicopters do. Look at the anemic yawing of this helicopter. And the Huey actually was a very nimble, maneuverable helicopter, one of the reasons why it was so popular. And you could say, well, it's the XM30 gun turrets that are throwing off the balance of the helicopter. And that would be a valid argument, except that you also see the same feature on all of the Huey models in the game, no matter what their loadout is. And that's just too bad. But I honestly think that it is one of those features that Gaijin is eventually going to get around to fixing, because you see a much better flight model on other helicopters of the same time period. So I honestly think the Hueys are going to be a lot easier to fly at some point, and as you can see, it is possible to make them work. You just need to take over the controls, and keep in mind that your tail shift is going to be a lot more anemic than you expect it to be at all speeds. So overall, I've definitely noticed an improvement in the flight handling of the 2 helicopters that I've taken out today. I am going to get into a match with the AH-1G as it sits at an 8.0 battle rating. It's one of those few helicopters that you can actually try to engage in close range fighting with. And you'll see from the match that I'm about to play that close range fighting in a helicopter is extremely fun. Now, I wish that I had more time to play matches and show you guys a really profitable gameplay, but I ended up playing 2 or 3 matches trying to get the AH-1G into combat, and that is one of those things that's pretty possible because you can spawn in the AH-1G from the beginning, and that's very helpful. Now look at us flying really close to the ground, practicing going in between trees, and let me tell you, it looks fun, and it's twice as fun, 3 times as fun to actually do as it is to watch. It really is one of those things I would love to see explored in War Thunder. And again, lower battle rating helicopters, I honestly think, without access, or if you could just turn off your access to guided missiles and fly out these same models, the Huey, the early attackers, and other nations. I'm looking at their helicopters, and all of their equipment and performance is something you would be able to see in a 7.7 8.0 match. And yet, there's just the fact that they have these unlimited range guided missiles to keep them out of that battle rating, and it's honestly a shame. But that's the world we live in, and that's just the way things are going to be, unfortunately. However, it is still really fun to learn how to fly these things. I've been looking for what to do now in War Thunder, and I haven't been playing the game as much since the event. I spent a ridiculous amount of time in the game for that event, and I got great rewards that I definitely don't regret investing the time in. But I've been focusing on my family more lately. I've been playing games that I can actually pause, so I don't have to like shift off my duties to my wife when she gets home after working a full day, which is just, you know, that's not fair, and that's hard on her, and I don't want to have either of those things going on. I want to take care of all of my girls, including my precious wife. So another thing to note here is that the targeting between the XM30 gun turrets is a little bit odd, and part of that is the way that it's implemented in the game, and part of that is down to the technical limitations of the gun turrets. They do have very good tracking side to side on each side that they have. They also, in the game, tend to focus in on a target in front of your helicopter. If you can be right in the middle and get both gun turrets to focus in. But when you're swapping sides, the turrets get a little bit weird, and also if you maneuver at all, it takes a few seconds to get the turrets onto target. Those are things that wouldn't be a big issue, except that you can tell from these ranges we would be in serious danger from an enemy tank, especially their anti-aircraft machine gun, if we give them a few seconds while we get our own guns onto target. So again, that comes down to the enemies that you'll face in these helicopters, and if you've been with the video this long, really thanks a lot for sticking with me. We'll get into some gameplay in just a minute. We'll just take a little bit more look at the XM30 gun pods. The again, I wish that I could play this at 8.0. There's really, there's nothing, there's nothing better than the AH-1G here until you introduce the guided missiles. And I don't like using guided missiles. It's just point and click, and your only strategy is to just sit outside the range of an enemy. And I mean, look how much more fun this is. War Thunder, can we get some more of this? And I'm not complaining. I'm just looking at helicopters. I still treat them like they're in development, because they still haven't really found their place in War Thunder. So let's take out the AH-1G in a match. We're loaded for bear. We have our grenade launcher. We have our Hydra missiles, or our Mighty Mouse missiles. And we're going to go down low to the ground in some thrilling positioning here. You can see I have my nice Normandy camouflage, the Mass Effect theme AH-1G camo that I made a while back when I was always flying helicopters, and I really love the look of it. It's one of my favorite custom camos. And you may also notice, if it took you this long to notice, that my graphics are looking a lot different, and that's because I completely reinstalled War Thunder on a solid state drive, and that's actually really helped the performance of the game, oddly enough. I didn't expect it to, but it really does. And also, that means that all of my settings got reset, and I ended up going with some different graphical settings that seem to be working out pretty well for me, so go figure. Here we are in our attacker, and we're getting as low as we possibly can here on, I think this is the, what is this, the Berlin map? Anyway, weaving in between buildings, extremely low altitude as you see here, very thrilling. Because we're loaded down with the maximum loadout of rockets, our aircraft is noticeably less nimble, a bit more weighty and sluggish than it would ordinarily be. I considered taking out less rockets and focusing on using the grenade launcher, and that really might have been a good decision if I'd stuck with it. But we're still in the experimental phase here. You can see we're low. We can get really low down near the water, but we're actually nosing up a bit here to trade some speed for altitude and peek over this cathedral, notably not Notre Dame. You can tell because it's not on fire. And sorry, too soon. Anyway, nobody got hurt, so it's fine. The most valuable thing about the premises of the Notre Dame Cathedral was the people, and the people were okay. So, we've opened up on our first target and get a quick kill assist, incapacitating that. What was that, a leopard? Sorry, I can't see very well with my editing software right now. Who then got quickly taken down by an ally. You can see it's early match, and we're in something of an exposed position here. Now that we've picked up a little bit of altitude, if there are enemy AA, we could be in for a bad time. But we see some muzzle smoke, and we identify that French, whatever it is, tank destroyer. Time to see if we can get the rockets on target, and we do get some good hits into him before he gets taken down. And already we hear a jet. Are you freaking kidding me? It's like 2.5 minutes into the match, and there's already an enemy jet in the air. Whatever, you know, I don't even care. I'm not even supposed to be here today. So, we're just chilling, hanging out, relaxing, all cool, and all, you know, downdrafting our prop wash into that big pool, when a couple of tanks, they were up to no good, started making blitzkrieg in our neighborhood. We loaded up our Mighty Mouse, our FFAR. Okay, I'll stop. You get the idea. So, we're just trying to keep our engagement ranges short here. We're staying low to the ground. An enemy SPAA is going to have to close with us if they want to take us out. Look at that, we can fly in the street. How cool would it be to play on the Alaska map with this helicopter? I think that would be a lot of fun. Honestly, I would just love to see more low tier helicopters. I think that having them only at top tier really reduces the amount of options that you have with them. There's no point in taking out the close range munitions, and I would just love to see more of an expansion of the close range helicopter combat meta. I mean, look at how cool it is to position yourself in here among the map, backed up by your allies, considering where they could be, using larger buildings as cover and an excuse to pop up and take a look. Wow, it could be so fun. It could be so fun to use a helicopter this way, and honestly, I'm having a blast in this match, just getting a feel for how it would work. Now, I'm going to do something stupid in a few seconds, and you'll know what it is when you see it, but we're going to peek at the enemy spawn. We're looking around. We're being much more aggressive than we should be, and we're going to pay the price. There's an enemy missile. We dodged that, but there was an SPAA, and he ends up taking us down. So that is another look at helicopters in War Thunder. Progress is being made on their flight model. I'd like to see the meta evolve more, especially to include lower ranking battles, so that helicopters can be, more active, more effective, and really get in there and practice those ambush tactics from close range. I'm going to do that myself and see what I can do. I got a toddler who's yelling for eggs right now. Those would be Easter eggs full of candy. So we'll see if we can get her some sweets. She just went, candy! Anyway, guys, that's it for today. I really wish I could play more War Thunder, but I gotta take care of these girls for a while. Anyway, catch you in the next video. Bye-bye. Guppy, can you say bye-bye?